Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Potty Plant Entertainment. My name is Chris, and in case you don't know, I review movies and I rank them on a scale of 0 to 100 in increments of 5. Today, we are continuing our series of reviewing the Lord of the Rings series by talking about The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. All right, let's jump into it. So, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers was released in 2002, and it stars I got a lot of names here. Elijah Wood, Ian McKellen, Orlando Bloom, Viggo Mortensen, John Rhys Davies, Sean Astin, Billy Boyd, Brad Dourif, Christopher Lee, Dominic Monaghan, Miranda Otto, Andy Serkis, Liv Tyler, Carl Urban, Hugo Weaving, David Wurm, and Bernard Hill. Thank you. It was directed by Peter Jackson. It was produced by Michael Lynn, Mark Wardesky, Robert Shea, and the Weinstein brothers. It's really just the one, as far as I know, but we don't mention his name here, so I just say the Weinstein brothers. Okay. So in this movie, the Fellowship has split up. They had to do that when they got attacked at the end of the last movie, and so Frodo and Sam go off on their own to try and take the ring to the volcano to drop it in, but at some point they realize they're lost, they don't know how to get there, and they encounter Gollum. Now, Gollum wants this ring back, but he can't overpower the two of them, so he's like, okay, I will guide you there, and I will be your servant. Probably has some malintent behind it, but that's only half of him, because, half of him is Gollum, the other half of him is Smeagol. And so he agrees to be their guide. Now, on the other side of the story, you have the rest of the group, and they have now gone to this kingdom where they realize they are not going to be able to beat the orcs, and the orcs are coming to get them. So they try to get some recruits. They're all going to come in. They're going to defend this kingdom from the orcs, and they're going to have one big, awesome battle. This movie is awesome. It's so awesome. This movie is so good. This is just one of those movies that reminds me why I love filmmaking so much. Now, I will say, and I said this in my review of The Fellowship of the Ring, which is on my channel right now. You can go watch it. The Fellowship of the Ring always has been, and probably always will be, my favorite Lord of the Rings movie. This one, however, is my second favorite. You might be surprised to learn, but The Return of the King is actually my least favorite of the trilogy, and I will explain why in my review for it. Not that I'm docking or anything. It is amazing, masterful filmmaking. All three of these movies are. But if I had to pick a favorite, it would be Fellowship, followed by The Two Towers. The Two Towers came out in 2002. So Fellowship came out 2 months after 9/11. And this came out a year after that one. I don't think America was quite ready for a movie called The Two Towers. And so there were definitely some comments made. But overall, it didn't really hinder the movie. It's a fantastic movie. It was successful at the box office. It won a couple of Oscars. Definitely should have won more than it did. Why a movie this good would only win 2 Oscars, I don't know. I've seen some fantastic movies not win any. I've seen some fantastic movies not get nominated for any, like The Terminator. Did you know The Terminator wasn't nominated for any Oscars? I bet you didn't know that Heat never won a single award for anything. Not one. Serious. Yeah, so it can happen. So I guess I should be grateful he got 2 Oscars versus nothing. But that's nothing compared to Return of the King. But anyway, it is a phenomenal piece of filmmaking, and I'm going to discuss why. So let's talk about, I got a lot of the pros that I have for this one are the same as I had for the last one, and why I love the last one so much. The costuming is fantastic. The makeup is so good. It's some of the best makeup work you will ever see in filmmaking. Comes from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Pirates of the Caribbean does an amazing job as well. The character and the creature designs are fantastic. There's some new creatures in this movie. You get to see the orcs like riding these. I don't even know what they are, but they're really cool looking. The character and the creature designs are fantastic. The special effects are really good. And like I said in my review for The Fellowship of the Ring, the CGI holds up better when you watch it on DVD versus when you watch these on Blu-ray. But you can see some green screen when you watch it on Blu-ray. I never noticed anything wrong with the CGI on DVD. Maybe you guys did and I just didn't. But I only have noticed like the aging in the CGI when I watch it on Blu-ray. But the special effects are awesome, and there's a lot of practical effects, and they're great. And the CGI work is really good. I mean, you gotta think, the Mummy Returns, that came out in like 2000 or 2001. That's the same time that this trilogy started coming out. And remember Dwayne Johnson at the end of that movie? Yeah. So and you know, CGI still wasn't there yet. It wasn't really until Avatar came out that CGI really got its advancement. That's why Avatar was such a huge hit. And so you really have to praise this movie for having CGI that's as good as it is. And Gollum looks fantastic. And I'll talk more about Gollum later. But if Gollum didn't age well, it would hurt. It would hurt this series. So it's a good thing that the CGI work that they did was as good as it is, because it really does look really good. It doesn't hold up as well as some other movies I've seen, but it does hold up really, really well. The cinematography is beautiful. I think I forgot to mention this in my review for the Fellowship of the Ring, but this trilogy has some of the best cinematography. It is such a well shot movie. They use close ups when they're supposed to. They use wides when they're supposed to. They get beautiful aerial shots when they're supposed to of these amazing film locations, which leads me to my next pro. The film locations are beautiful. Beautiful, and all the castles and everything you just see are so cool. That's why I was saying in my last review, this is one of the coolest movie series of all time, because you just see all this stuff that's just like, that is freaking cool. It also expands on the world a little bit. Like I said, by showing you some new creatures, you get to see some different parts of the world. You get to see maps that show you like, hey, this is like the areas that we need to cover. So you get to see more of their world a little bit. Not as much, because they do become stagnant at one point in the film. But you do get to see a little bit more. The script and the writing are fantastic. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is one of the best adapted screenplays of all time, if not the best. I mean, seriously, it's just such remarkable writing. It is amazing what people can do when they put their heads together and they try to create something. It's just remarkable. Peter Jackson directed the crap out of this movie. The set design is awesome. The pacing is really good. Now, I do want to talk about a little bit about the pacing. So, this one is often considered the weakest of the trilogy, even though I think most people who've seen these movies would say that all three of them are 10 out of 10 movies. But this one has always been considered the least good of the trilogy. And I think it's mostly because this one is the slowest. Like I said, they sort of become stagnant in this movie. Sort of like how Return of the Jedi, you don't really explore as much of the galaxy. It's most of it is spent on Endor. This movie does that same thing, where most of it is spent in this kingdom. But for me, that doesn't hinder it, just like how that doesn't hinder Return of the Jedi for me. That's never bothered me about Return of the Jedi, and doesn't bother me here either. But the pacing is still really good, and it does not feel like a 3-hour movie. These movies are 3 hours. The only one where you start to feel the runtime a little bit is Return of the King, and that's just because that one goes to 3 hours and 20 minutes. But the pacing, these movies are 3 hours, but they don't really feel like it. Like, you can start this movie like sometime in the afternoon, and then look out the window and it's dark, and it's like, wow, that went by. Because it's just so well written, and you get so immersed into this world that it just completely sucks you out of your reality, and you get right into the film, and then before you know, it's over, and it was freaking amazing. The music is really, really good. The music in this one, it doesn't really stand out to me as much as it does in the other two, but the music is still really beautiful. It's got some good jokes in it. All the characters are back, and they are awesome, especially Viggo Mortensen. He is awesome. Oh, and I want to talk about how Legolas does that he does that cool surfing thing down the stairs while shooting arrows. It's just so cool, man. The battle sequences are really cool, but especially the extended one at the end. It's one of the greatest battle sequences ever put to cinema. It is just so beautiful. It's so good. Like I said, it is amazing what humans are able to create when they actually put effort into it. And the extended battle at the end of this movie is just it's filmmaking gold. It's art. It really, really is. And I one of my favorite characters of the Lord of the Rings trilogy is Sam. And Sam really steps up in this movie because he is he is really what keeps Frodo going, because Frodo has to wear this ring, and the ring, you know, it starts to like make you greedy and makes you lose your mind. And so, but he has to wear it, he has to carry it, and so Sam has to be the one to be like, bro, focus. We have to keep moving. He's the one who has to usher him along because this ring is slowly dwindling away at him. And then, last but not least, I gotta talk about Gollum. Andy Serkis puts, for this movie and Return of the King, one of the greatest performances of all time. But he never got nominated for an Oscar for it, which is one of the biggest Oscar snubs of all time, because he was wearing a blue suit and he was CGI'd. And this movie and Return of the King opened up this big debate. Should people who are CGI'd in the movies get nominated for Oscars for their acting performances? And Andy Serkis is just, he's the reason for that argument. It was this in Planet of the Apes. He was fantastic in Planet of the Apes, but he plays a CGI'd ape. And so he's not going to get accommodation for his work because he's blue suit. He's wearing a blue suit, which is bogus. But he puts together one of the best performances of all time. And Gollum is so great because this character so easily could have been so annoying, but he's not. He's creepy. And you want to listen to him, and you want to watch him, and you want to see what he does next, and you want to know what he's thinking, because Andy Serkis plays him so well. The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, is one of the best movies ever made. I love this movie to death, and it, of course, gets a 100. All right, we will be wrapping up the series maybe tomorrow with The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to Potty Planet Entertainment for more. Hit the like button. Leave me reviews, suggestions, comments down below. Follow me on Instagram at Potty Planet Entertainment for channel updates, and much love.